Hi, vinyl community. This is Christopher again. I wanted to share with you some thrift store finds and a couple other finds that I picked up this past week that I'm pretty pleased with. So the first one that I found is Fares Quartet Number 1 for piano, violin, viola, and cello. And I picked this up, for one, because it was in fantastic shape, but it's got Rostropovich on cello, which is, amazing. Barshai on viola, which I think is really interesting because he's more noted for his conducting, at least, now. And then Kogan on violin and Gilels on piano. And it's on the Melodia label, which these recordings are recorded in the former Soviet Union. They were recorded in the 60s and 70s, and then they were shipped out through Columbia and on the Melodia label. And so this is actually on ABC Westminster Gold Melodia. So I was really intrigued to find out what it was, and the sound quality isn't that hot. The vinyl's clean, but the recording just wasn't so hot. The performance, on the other hand, is fantastic. So I don't regret getting it at all. The next one, which I was really surprised to find, but a very, very, very good condition of Chris Williamson's The Changer and the Changed. And Chris Williamson is, she was one of the early feminist music pioneers of folk music. This was recorded in 1975. Very singer-songwriter, and it's just fantastic. I mean, the whole album is strong, but the first track, called Waterfall, is probably her signature tune. And other albums that she did are good, but they're definitely not as strong as this debut. And I picked up another one that I haven't actually listened to yet because it's absolutely filthy, is her Chris Williamson's Prairie Fire. And it still has the shrink on it, but the vinyl is just filthy. So it's going to take me a little time to clean it, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But the next one that I picked up was Daly and Burke's Eavesdropper album on Green Linnet. And I've never seen any Green Linnet vinyls. So to find this in a thrift store was really spectacular. And also, it was sealed. And I know when you get a sealed vinyl that is from the 80s, like this album is, most of the times they are warped. And this is slightly warped, but not as bad as I was expecting it. So I was really, really pleased. And it's accordion and fiddle, Irish traditional music. And I own a bunch of CDs on Green Linnet, and I really like them. The production is fantastic. And this was really absolutely superb. What a great find. And then another Burke album called Promenade, which I think this album is much stronger than the Eavesdropper album. And while this wasn't sealed, it's still in absolutely fantastic shape. So I was incredibly pleased. Another Green Linnet find. They were the only two Green Linnets that they had, and I went through the bins again just to make sure that there weren't any other ones hiding. And those were the ones that I found at the thrift store. And then there was a record store in town that had a 50% off sale, so I picked up some albums there. But the only one really noteworthy that I'd like to say is Joni Mitchell's Mingus, which is in great shape. Usually when you find these, there's serious ring wear, and the vinyl isn't so hot, but this is just absolutely fantastic. It's the last album that she did on Asylum before moving to Elektra, and I think that she significantly changed her sound when she went to Elektra, and I didn't care for it as much. But this album is experimental. She worked with Mingus on the recording. It was, I don't remember if it was released before his death, but it was right around that time. Let's see, 1979. Yeah, it says in memory of Charles Mingus, 1922 to 1979. This was released in 79. So, but I don't remember if it was actually released right before he died or not. But it's strong. It's really strong. If you like some of the later the later albums of Joni Mitchell, Hissing on Summer Lawns, Don Juan's Reckless Daughter, that sort of era with Jaco Pastorius on bass, then definitely check it out if you haven't. And then I picked these up at House of Records, which again is my favorite record store. Um, and I just think that they're fabulous. And this one is um, Handsome Furs Sound Capital, which was released a couple years ago. And it's a really, really strong album. I think that it's a little bit more electronic than their past album, their past two albums. But this album is absolutely gorgeous, and I think what really stands out is, for one, it's on orange marble, which is outstanding in color. And it's an outstanding press too. And this is a new press, but another thing that's fantastic is the sleeve that it comes in. So it's semi-translucent. You can see up here that there's liner notes written on the sleeve. Sorry about the glare. But when you hold it up to the light, it really shines through. On the other side, there's this wood pattern or vein pattern that it's just fabulous packaging and a fabulous album. So I recommend that. And then the other score, which is probably the most expensive record that I've picked up recently in a one-shot deal, is Denise LaSalle's Trapped by a Thing Called Love, her first album on Westbound. And I picked it up because, for one, I think it's her best album. It's bluesy, but it's very soul. Her later stuff, I think, was more just blues. And I don't know, I just didn't care for it as much. But the condition of this is the best I've seen it, and so I really had to pick it up. But, you know, I mean, it's got a cutout, but I don't care about that. And then you can see that it's just in phenomenal shape. And the only damage is right the widow's peak of the heart. So it's just such a pleasure. And the album, again, is just spectacular. And when I'm buying vinyl, you know, my musical tastes are really varied. I buy a lot of pop, rock, classical, and I'm getting into R&B and soul right now, and so I'm really exploring finding vinyl on that, and I can post videos more about that a little bit later. But my listening, I listen to everything. I listen to a lot of early punk rock just because of my age and how I was growing up, and as you'll see if you watch my videos, that I have very eclectic tastes, so hope you enjoy these.